a guy who was drafted in 2023 by the Pittsburgh Steelers, Joey Porter Jr. Jerry Dulac of the Post-Gazette reported yesterday that the two sides are far apart on a potential extension for Porter. And Porter is in a unique situation. He was essentially a first-round pick in 2023, but he wasn't a first-round pick. That was the year that the Dolphins had given up their first-round pick because of the Sean Payton, Tom Brady tampering investigation. That was the punishment, one of the punishments for the Dolphins, no first-round pick. So the Steelers ended up in spot number 1 at the top of round 2, which became spot number 32 overall. The good news for Porter is he's not tied to a fifth-year option. He's entering a contract year. But like any of the players who get to the back end of a 4-year slotted rookie contract, the salary is low. Most of the money is paid early. By the time you get to the end, if you've played well, it's not a number that's even remotely close to what your market value would be. I think Porter is due to make $3.4 million this year. And then next year, he'd be eligible for free agency or the franchise tag if the Steelers would use it. And it highlights a bigger point as it relates to these contracts. I had someone ask me about it earlier today in the context of Jalen Carter, who's entering year 4. He has a fifth-year option of $27 million plus, but for this year, he's in the neighborhood of $3 or $4 million. They put the rookie wage scale in place in 2011 to eliminate the reality that there were players every year who were getting this gigantic financial payment and not earning it. The busts were running away with millions that could be redistributed to the veteran players. So, because you can't identify the busts ahead of time, everybody who came into the draft got less. To protect against a bust absconding with money that he never makes, never earns, he makes it, but he doesn't earn it, everybody was penalized. Even the players who turn out to be great. And I remember asking Roger Goodell about this when I interviewed him for the one and only PFT preseason magazine from 2010, as these ideas were still percolating before the 2011 lockout. What do you do if the idea is we want to keep the busts from making too much money and not earning it? What do you do for the guys who did? Those guys should get second contracts as soon as possible. Now, one of the things that they buried into the 2011 CBA used to be you were eligible for a second contract after 2 years. As of 2011, you got to put in 3. So the fair argument is any first-round pick, any draft pick really, that has played at a high level through 3 NFL seasons should get a second contract. And we need to get away from the, well, he signed a contract, he has to honor the contract. The player who is drafted has no say whatsoever in the financial package that he gets. Yeah, there can be some negotiation about cash flow and guarantees and voids, but the money is predetermined. You are paid based upon where you are picked. Your spot, your slot determines your compensation. And it's either take it or leave it. It's not a true contract. None of these contracts are two-way contracts. That's what I'm trying to get people to understand. The team can tear it up whenever it wants. The only thing that protects the player against that is guarantee structures and cap consequences that force the team to keep the player, even if it would say, you know, this guy's probably not living up to what we thought he was going to be. Well, our hands are tied by the remaining guarantees and by the cap consequences of cutting him or trading him. That's the only protection a player gets. The team can tear the contract up at any time. The player is stuck. If the player outperforms, the player is stuck. That's why I think the good organizations take care of the guys who have put in the 3 years and have earned the second contract. Now, it's one thing to say we'd like to give the player a second contract. It's another thing to come to an agreement. And it sounds like Porter and the Steelers are very far apart. And look, they've had a coaching change. Mike Tomlin and Joey Porter Sr. were close. If Tomlin's still there, is there a chance this thing gets worked out? Is there a chance that maybe he helps bridge the gap? He can talk to Porter. He can talk to the team. He can broker a deal. Without Tomlin there, I think that's a lot harder to accomplish. And it could be that he holds in. He wasn't participating in team drills during the offseason program. They've done that with TJ Watt a couple of times, where he shows up and he doesn't participate in team drills, doesn't practice until he gets the contract. So that's one to watch. He could be a hold-in when training camp opens unless they find a way to bridge that gap between what the Steelers are willing to pay and what Porter is looking for. But just remember, once you have, and it's pass-fail. We know it when we see it. A guy who has lived up to his draft standing and a guy who has failed. The guys who fail, they're gone at the first opportunity. The guys who succeed, there's a temptation to ride it out. There's a temptation to take full advantage of the financial benefits of the rookie wage scale. As I've said, as it relates to first rounders who have that fifth-year option, if the team can kick the can through year 4, that is a huge savings that can never be taken away. The Cowboys had Micah Parsons for his 4th year at $3 million. The Vikings had Justin Jefferson for his 4th year in that same range. Jamar Chase in Cincinnati, same idea. That 4th year, if you can get the player who was a first-round pick, who's playing very well, to wait until after year 4 to demand that second contract, that's a huge benefit to the team. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.